Should you be fasting as somebody with endometriosis? In this video, I'm breaking down what is fasting, the general health benefits of fasting, and how to fast the right way as somebody with endometriosis. If you're new here, hey, I'm Cindy. I'm an endometriosis and fertility specialized dietitian. Please be sure to like and share this video with a friend, and please subscribe to my channel for the best endo content here on YouTube. So what is fasting and what are the different types of fasts? So fasting is simply refraining from food or caloric liquids for a predetermined period of time. There are several types of fasts, including but not limited to intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, the 5-2 diet, which is 5 days eating normally and 2 days with restriction, autophagy inducing fasts, gut reset fasts, immune reset fasting, 16-8 fasting, calorie restricted fasting, and many more other types of fasting too. Intermittent fasting describes a pattern of eating that involves prolonged periods of fasting, typically over 12 hours. Alternate day fasting and a 16-8 fast are examples of intermittent fasting styles. An autophagy fast is also a type of intermittent fasting, but starts at no less than 17 hours and can extend into a prolonged fast where the time of fasting ranges from 2 to 21 days. A gut reset fast is no less than 24 hours, and an immune reset fast is always more than 72 hours. The gut reset fast is called the gut reset fast because at the 24-hour mark, you get a boost of stem cells released in the gut, which begin the repair of the gut lining. A 3 to 5 day water fast, which is an autophagy fast, revitalizes stem cells and allows them to travel to injured parts of the body and make them new again. How cool is that? So what are some of the health benefits of fasting and how do they overlap with endometriosis? One review showed fasting has a beneficial effect on parathyroid hormone secretion, which is thought to be beneficial for bone health and development. This could be applicable for anyone who has musculoskeletal concerns related to endometriosis or who is taking a bone-reducing hormone therapy like Lupron or Orilissa. This same review showed that in other chronic inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and chronic back pain, fasting reduced inflammatory chemicals and improved food tolerance and gut permeability, ultimately improving symptoms of these conditions. Fasting for 7 to 10 days was also shown to reduce pain, stiffness, and dependency on pain-relieving medications. In my video on new endometriosis research, I highlighted the genetic overlap between endo and chronic pain conditions like back pain. This connection is definitely strong enough to apply fasting for pain relief in people with endometriosis. Many other medications and interventions not studied in the endometriosis population specifically have been applied across the chronic illness spectrum to endometriosis. One example of this is low-dose naltrexone or LDN, which was initially applied to rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune thyroiditis, MS, Addison's disease, and lupus before being used to support endometriosis patients. This same review also showed metabolic improvements from fasting, including weight loss, reduction of fat tissue mass, blood pressure, heart rate, and less total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol, which is the pro-inflammatory type of cholesterol, and an increase in anti-inflammatory HDL cholesterol. In general, research does show that endometriosis is associated with a higher risk of metabolic syndrome, making fasting an applicable symptom relief strategy for endo patients here as well. A New England Journal review showed that within 8 hours after your last meal, your body shifts to a fat-burning system, which comes with several relevant cellular health benefits. And these include increased ketone production, increased antioxidant defenses, increased autophagy, increased DNA repair, decreased glycogen release, decreased insulin storage, improvements in the microbiome, and a reduction in inflammatory markers. So let's briefly break these down and talk about their relevance for endometriosis. Ketones are reparative. Specifically, they repair tissue of the nervous system. Several studies and reviews have shown not only that nerves are involved in pain symptoms of endometriosis, but that endometriosis can lead to nerve damage, resulting in referred pain or confused pain signals within the nervous system. Additionally, ketones trigger the release of calming neurotransmitters like GABA, which endometriosis sufferers are reported to produce less of. One relevant area of application here is by boosting GABA synthesis through fasting, treatments with pain-relieving medications like NSAIDs may become more effective. A lack of GABA production or an abnormally low production of GABA is actually one of the reasons why some endometriosis patients don't respond to these pain relieving medications. Autophagy is a process by which your body cleans out or recycles old, damaged cells in order to regenerate newer and healthier cells. It's basically a form of detox. This study shows that autophagy is downregulated or is not as efficient in endometriosis patients as in non-endometriosis patients. So this is another area of applicability for fasting specific to the endometriosis population. Fasting and the benefits of autophagy from fasting also apply to hormone production. The thecal cells in the ovaries are heavily influenced by autophagy. So one method for hormone support can be autophagy fasting, but keep watching to learn how to do this the right way. Fasting was also shown to help with reducing glycogen storage in the muscles, liver, and fat. Fasting was also shown to force your body to release excess insulin, making you more insulin sensitive. Studies do show that in general, endometriosis patients can be more insulin resistant. Abnormal blood sugar and insulin resistance has been shown to have a negative effect on hormone levels, fertility outcomes, inflammatory markers, pain, sleep quality, fertility, and more. Fasting has also been shown to reset dopamine pathways. One area of applicability for endometriosis patients is for lowering prolactin. Prolactin is shown to be higher in endometriosis patients in the research. One effective way to lower prolactin, which in turn supports healthy ovulation, progesterone production, and fertility outcomes, is to boost dopamine as dopamine normalizes prolactin. There's also a large body of literature that I have previously shared in other videos on how an imbalanced microbiome favoring pro-inflammatory bacteria is more prevalent in endometriosis patients. This imbalanced environment makes it harder to extract inflammation-fighting nutrition from our food, regulate blood sugar and metabolism, remove estrogen from the body, reduce inflammation, both in the gut and body-wide, support healthy digestion, and to reset the cells that line the gut. Fasting has been shown to improve all of these things. A 24-hour gut reset fast can reinvigorate the cells that line the intestinal tract, allowing them to repair. Additionally, studies show that the microbiome becomes more rich and more diverse in anti-inflammatory species with fasting. Fasting may also be one method by which birth control users can support the microbiome. Long-term use of birth control can lead to candida overgrowth, dysbiosis, or leaky gut. Longer form fast can help restore balance to the microbiome and heal a damaged gut caused by extensive birth control use. With birth control being a first-line therapy for endometriosis symptoms, this is absolutely a relevant strategy to consider for endometriosis patients who are using birth control to manage symptoms. Fasting has also been shown to be highly effective at reducing HbA1c, which is a 3-month average of the amount of sugar attached to red blood cells, and CRP, C-reactive protein. CRP especially is a general marker of inflammation commonly elevated in endometriosis patients. And so having literature showing that CRP can be reduced with inflammation can certainly be one way that endometriosis patients can reduce body-wide inflammation. Several studies show that the ratio of antioxidants to pro-inflammatory chemicals, known as oxidative stress, is low in endometriosis patients, meaning we have less inflammation-fighting capacity than we do pro-inflammatory chemicals circulating throughout the body. Other studies show a strong overlap of elevated measurable inflammatory markers and endometriosis risk. Studies also show the potential of fasting to boost antioxidant defenses and reduce oxidative stress. What does the literature say specifically about fasting as women? There is minimal research on fasting in endometriosis patients specifically, but what does the research say about fasting for female physiology? One study showed that nighttime melatonin production was longer when fasted than in the non-fasted group. Because melatonin is an anti-inflammatory, egg quality boosting, and sleep promoting neurotransmitter-like substance, there is definitely applicability to endometriosis patients here. The same study showed that cortisol levels skyrocketed in the fasted group in all stages of the cycle. Because progesterone doesn't thrive in a state of high cortisol, and progesterone is an anti-inflammatory, anti-proliferative, and mood and sleep stabilizing hormone, this is definitely an important consideration for people with endometriosis or for somebody who has a fertility focused goal. The same study also showed an increase in beta hydroxybutyric acid in women who fasted. An elevated beta hydroxybutyric acid is tied to various metabolic conditions like diabetes and insulin resistance, which we've already established are more prevalent and more likely in endometriosis patients. So how should we fast? If you are a cycling woman, there is a right way to fast for optimal health. The first phase of your cycle, day 1 to 10, so cycle day 1 would be the first day of a full flow period. And for 3 days after ovulation, you can healthily tolerate longer fasting windows. In the early stage of your cycle, your hormones are at their lowest and your mitochondria are more receptive to the power of ketones for fuel and autophagy. Estrogen also doesn't thrive in a state of high insulin. So during this phase, if you're going to consider fasting, also match your diet appropriately. So keep your carbohydrates controlled and enjoy a lot of good quality proteins, fats, fermented vegetables, and low sugar fruits. Your fast in this phase could reasonably go anywhere from 13 to 72 hours based on your experience with fasting. If you're new to fasting, definitely start closer to the lower range, 13 hours, and increase based on how you feel. In your ovulatory phase, you want to keep your fast to 13 to 15 hours. Your ovaries are about 80% more sensitive to shifts in your diet in the ovulatory phase, so keep the fast short and the diet nutrient dense. Estrogen is also highest in this phase, so focus on lots of cruciferous vegetables to support estrogen elimination. These are veggies like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, and radishes. Green leafy veggies like arugula and watercress are rich in B vitamins, which are needed to support estrogen elimination as well. Bitter foods like radicchio, nettles, endive, and dandelion root also promote bile flow, which can be made thick and sludgy by abnormally high estrogen, which unfortunately is quite common in the endometriosis population. Promote bile flow by consuming these foods in this phase. Sesame and flax seeds are phytoestrogens that promote estrogen detox. Fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi add beneficial bacteria into your gut to promote estrogen elimination as well. Salmon is rich in omega-3s, and omega-3s are also essential for supporting estrogen elimination down the preferred pathway in the liver. Spices like turmeric, saffron, and ginger can also help reduce inflammation in this phase. High estrogen can be very inflammatory for many people with endometriosis. And focus on color diversity and low sugar fruits in this phase, like berries and melons. All of these foods are also protective against toxins. When hormones surge, they have the potential to mobilize toxins in the body that you may not know you have. So be cautious of this. If you get into a longer detox fast and you start to feel flu-like symptoms, this may be a sign that you're detoxing from toxins you didn't know that you had. In your luteal phase, avoid fasting. Fasting can boost cortisol, as we've already talked about in this video, and progesterone does not thrive when cortisol is high. Unlike the follicular phase, your body wants some sugar in the blood, as healthy amounts of sugar in the bloodstream support healthy progesterone levels. I'm not talking about processed sugar, but rather sugar from complex carbohydrates. So in this phase, enjoy healthful servings of starchy foods like potato, beans, squashes, citrus fruits, tropical fruits, pumpkin seeds, wild rice, or quinoa. How about breaking a fast? How do you do that? Diet is very nuanced and needs to be tailored to you, but in general, I do agree with Dr. Mindy's recommendations, which include the following. And just as a side note, Dr. Mindy is the author of Fast Like a Girl, which is where a lot of the information in this video is taken from. It's an absolutely fantastic resource and read, so highly recommend it. These 3 diet foundations that she breaks down for breaking a fast include, firstly, break your fast to support positive changes in your microbiome. So in other words, consume some kind of probiotic rich food here. This includes sauerkraut, fermented veggies, fermented yogurts, or bone broth. Bone broth is not fermented, but it has many helpful amino acids that support the gut lining. The second thing is to support muscle growth following a fast by eating 25 grams of protein with your meal. And the third and final piece of your meal when breaking a fast should be to support fat burn by enjoying healthy fats. So especially if metabolic health and or fat loss is an objective for you. You don't necessarily need to have a weight loss objective. This is still going to help promote metabolic health. This includes foods like avocados, olives, olive oil, nut butters, or again, bone broth. So if you've mastered those short fasts and you're doing longer fasts over 48 hours, you're going to want to break your fast a little bit differently. So after a longer fast over 48 hours, your digestion will slow and your tolerance to whole foods and animal proteins may be affected. For this reason, start breaking your fast with some broth. Broth is also rich in the amino acid glycine, which is amazing for reducing inflammation, supporting your immune system, and supporting the gut lining. Since a fast of this length does stimulate gut rejuvenation, a cup of broth is a great way to break the fast while simultaneously supporting the benefits to the gut. After 1 to 2 hours following the broth, enjoy a probiotic-rich food and fat combo. This will just help maximize the benefits to the gut achieved through this longer form fast. For example, pair sauerkraut with avocado or yogurt with nut butters or nuts or seeds. Following another 1 to 2 hours, prepare to add some fiber. Steam some vegetables to provide your gut and body with some inflammation-fighting phytonutrients and fiber. Steam the veggies to make them a little bit easier to handle and digest after this longer form fast. Bonus points if you add some olive oil. After another 1 to 2 hours, you are ready to add in some animal protein. 30 grams of protein will help stimulate muscle growth following a longer form fast like this. If you've taken these 3 steps and you've landed at this step, your digestive tract should be ready for some protein. So who should not fast? So far in this video, we've learned that fasting can be a big cortisol stimulator. Additionally, fasting can lead to some undesirable metabolic effects in women. Here is who I recommend should avoid fasting, or at the very least have a conversation with a trusted healthcare provider and determine together whether you're in a good state of health to pursue fasting. So firstly, if you are someone who is extremely stressed with sky-high cortisol, you might first consider working on stress management before considering a fast. Stress is probably already taking a toll on sleep quality, hormone production, fertility outcomes, pain, metabolic health, and more. Develop a stress management strategy first, and then add fasting in as a helpful complementary strategy to accomplish your goals. If you already have excess adrenal hormone production, so specifically you've had your testosterone and or DHEA or DHEA sulfate tested, these hormones are produced in the adrenals. DHEA exclusively in the adrenals. Testosterone is produced in the adrenals, but in part in other parts of the body. So stressing the adrenals more with a fast may result in some undesirable effects. Consider spearmint tea, saw palmetto, ovasitol, or adaptogenic herbs while simultaneously working on the foundations like sleep, stress management, and blood sugar balance, and then consider fasting at a later stage in your healing journey. If you are somebody with signs of nutrient deficiencies like wounds that are slow to heal, hair falling, bruising easily, low energy, or low vitamins or minerals in blood work, you also may consider skipping the fast. If you're already not providing your body with the tools it needs to heal, fasting shouldn't be your first step. Anyone taking insulin or medications that can cause rapid shifts in blood sugars, you're also somebody who might consider postponing a fast. Or if you have to take medications or supplements with food. Fellow endo sufferers who have extreme pain with severe chronic inflammation, your body is likely overwhelmed and confused from a metabolic perspective. I would focus on the basics first, like establishing a good sleep-wake routine, gentle movement if you can swing it, replenish any nutrient gaps, and work on balancing the blood sugars, and then revisit fasting in the future. If historically you have lost a rapid amount of weight fast, rapid weight loss isn't healthy and can stimulate a stress response that you want to avoid, especially when coupled with fasting. So I would consider anything more than 2 pounds a week quite rapid. And lastly, if fasting has historically made you feel unwell, like nausea, vomiting, upper GI symptoms, pain, reflux, that type of thing, you might consider trying to figure out what's at the root of that problem and then return to fasting. Okay, so to summarize and provide some quick highlights, start slow. So if you're new to fasting, 13 hours is a great place to start. Avoid fasting in the luteal phase at all costs. Eat higher carbohydrate in the luteal phase and lower carbohydrate in the follicular phase to support estrogen and progesterone levels. My advice here and the guidance I usually provide clients is to aim for at least 2 to 3 starch servings that hit national guideline portion sizes. So that would be the equivalent of like half a cup of rice, half a cup of oats, half a cup of pasta. Start there 2 to 3 times per day in the luteal phase and maybe do a little bit less in the follicular phase. Break shorter fasts with fermented foods, fat, and protein. For example, sauerkraut on avocado with egg. Fasting can create a gentle spike in cortisol, so caution with fasting if this is something you're working to improve. Please remember to like this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.